Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, dwyerboxingnews.com. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. You know, there was a fight this weekend that, quite frankly, really gets my goat. Once in a while, you come across a fight in which a celebrity fighter, a star fighter, gets so embarrassed, so exposed, that the fight immediately becomes the blueprint on how to beat him. That's what happened this weekend in the Huck versus Floyd Arslan fight. For those who want to see the fight, and I consider it a must-see, it's on my channel page here on YouTube. But here's the kicker. After Arslan literally puts on a clinic in which he completely embarrasses, humiliates, and undresses Huck for at least, by my estimation, 8 of the 12 rounds, minimum. Certain rounds are close. Round 8, that's close. Toward the end of the fight, Arslan, who's in his 40s, takes his foot off the gas a little bit. Okay, maybe. But for at least 8 of the rounds, it's hard to imagine Huck looking worse. It's hard to imagine Huck winning any of those 8 rounds. I actually stopped scoring the fight. We hit the 9th round, which I gave to Arslan, after giving the first round to him, the second round to him, the third round to him, the 4th round to him, the 5th round to him, the 6th round to him. You get the trend, right? After the 9th round, I stopped scoring the fight because on my scorecard, Huck needed a knockout to win the fight. Now, I'm stunned. That's not even the proper word. I'm just perplexed as to what fight the judges in Germany scored. I mean, Huck not only didn't deserve to win the fight, in my opinion, Huck didn't even belong in the same area code as Floyd Arslan. I thought this is a clinic. Well, let's talk about it stylistically. I don't want to overdo it here, but really, you know, this fight is very reminiscent of Robert Helenius' Derek Chisora. I mean, the fight's one-sided. Now, if you saw, just style-wise, if you saw the Carson Jones-Kell Brook fight, then you saw the kind of approach, the Carson Jones approach, the kind of approach that Huck uses in this fight. Not Huck, Floyd Arslan uses in this fight. He has a defensive guard, and he is going to stalk Huck. Now, you know what I always say here? The way to beat an ambush fighter is to follow him after the ambush. Right? Understand, a fighter who can fight inside, who can literally just track down these flashy guys who come in with combinations then jump back out. If you can track them down and force them to fight on their back foot, the fight becomes lopsided. Right? I know there's talk. I don't want to get too sidetracked here. I know there's talk about Yorkie's Gamboa against Floyd Mayweather. The 50 Cent Floyd Mayweather tweet war, right? 50 apparently has said, hey, I'll put up $20 million for that fight, right? I believe that if Floyd Mayweather still has the legs that he had when he was a younger man, that's an easy fight for him if he can catch up to Yorkie's Gamboa, right? Understand, these ambush guys, you saw it in the Bernard Hopkins Jean Pascal fight. If you corner these ambush guys and you force them to fight for a sustained period of time, you're going to see holes in their game. I don't care how offensively gifted the fighter looks. Let's talk about the holes we saw in Marco Huck's game. Number one, Marco Huck can't fight inside. Right? As Arslan comes forward, has his guard up, just like Carson Jones against Kell Brook. As he comes forward, understand Marco Huck cannot lower a shoulder, put his shoulder up on Arslan's chest or his shoulder, stay there and go to work. He can't back Arslan up. He can't fight that kind of fight. He needs to extend his arms. Right? So we can't fight inside. Let's go one step further. He doesn't have the jab to keep Arslan outside. You know, there's a big difference between Marco Huck and let's say someone like Lucien Bute. You saw Bute against Grachev. Close fight. Real close fight. But Bute has a jab. If I'm trying to bum rush Lucien Bute, I'm going to get hit with a jab. I'm going to pay a price. My face is going to start to get marked up. Right? Andre Durrell. I know there's talk online. James Prince, Andre Ward's manager, is upset at 50 Cent, who apparently had some negative comments about Andre Ward. Right? Understand, Andre Durrell has a jab that he throws. I just think Ward's so advanced he would get around that jab in his sleep. I would take Ward over Andre Durrell. But my point to you is, Marco Huck doesn't even have that jab. So as Arslan is coming forward, Huck really doesn't know what to do. He's unprepared. He looks totally unprepared for the style. So he tries to back up, but he can't fight on his back foot. Understand, an ambush fighter is a guy who stays outside, then he jumps in on his front foot, throws a combination, then he gets back out. Think Amir Khan against Paul McCluskey. Right? And so Marco Huck can't fight on his back foot. Arslan has foot speed. He gets Marco Huck up on the ropes several times in the fight. Here's the other deficiency in Marco Huck's game. Marco Huck can't clinch. You remember those old films of Ali where a guy comes in on Ali, hurts him, Joe Frazier. Ali clinches him and then is able to look at the crowd and shake his head as if to say, hey, he didn't really hit me. Right? But the point is, he's tied up his opponent. Marco Huck can't even do that with regularity. And of course, Marco Huck's fight style isn't really that advanced. He's a great athlete. He has a great straight right hand. I'm not here to say he's not world class. He has that world class straight right hand. But he doesn't frame it. He doesn't have a hook that keeps you honest or that forces you into position for the right hand. Right? His style is a kamikaze style. It's an ambush style. He's outside. You come in during a lull in the action. He then jumps up, throws a combination, more likely than not, up top. Let me also say his defense isn't that great because really Marco Huck's main defense is his legs. I know I'm sounding overly critical here. I don't mean to suggest that Marco Huck has no talent. But all I'm saying is it's in fights like this and his fight against Denis Lebedev where you realize that you're dealing with more of an athlete than a technician. Let me just point out, second round of this Arslan fight. Arslan comes in. This is the second round. You want to know how defenseless Huck is? Arslan throws an uppercut with about 30 seconds left. You can just watch the last 45 seconds of the second round. And you're going to see as early as the second round, Arslan gives Huck a bloody nose. Now you'll notice advanced fighters, it's subtle. Evander Holyfield, for example, has a little Archie Moore thing going on where he'll actually have a hand draped across his chest so that you can't throw an uppercut. And of course, Holyfield, who can fight inside, is up on you. He can crowd you, right? He crowded Mike Tyson. Think about this. A heavy-handed guy like Mike Tyson so much that Tyson bit his ear twice. He was so close to Tyson that Tyson complained that Holyfield's head was hitting him in the face, right? Marco Huck's head never gets near Arslan. Never. Marco Huck's defense doesn't prevent against uppercuts, right? This isn't the old mongoose Archie Moore. This is a guy standing around. He has his hands like this. He's just not a gifted defensive fighter. So I thought he got completely exposed. I'll say this. This weekend had several surprising fights. But this is the most surprising. And the sad part about it, it's really tragic, is that the judges robbed Arslan of a fight he clearly won by several rounds. As I looked at the fight, I'm not sure if I gave Marco Huck 4 rounds of this 12-round fight. It's an outrage, right? It truly is an outrage. Let me also say this too. You see fighters like Amir Khan, Kell Brook. I don't mean to badmouth the British, not at all. All I'm doing, or Germans, in the case of Marco Huck, all I'm doing is just pointing out that guys can look flashy from the outside. But when they fight world-class competition, and that world-class competition forces them to get off their front foot, to stop fighting intermittently, and to actually deal with constant pressure, then you see a lot of these guys fall apart. Marco Huck is accustomed to doling out punishment. He's not accustomed to actually having to deal with a guy up on his chest. He's on his back foot. His back's against the ropes, right? He has to defend himself. He has to hold and somehow find a way to disengage the attack, right? He's not accustomed to that. And it showed big time in this fight. Let's hope the sanctioning bodies do the right thing and order an immediate rematch, because that's what should happen. Huck himself, when he looks at a film of this fight, has to realize that this decision is questionable. Online, I've heard it called controversial. No, this is a robbery, right? The decision is highly questionable. And so I thought it's a complete farce. I would encourage everyone to take a look at my channel page. Firat Arslan, I'm not saying he's a world beater, but I'll tell you what. Because Marco Huck goes straight back, because he doesn't have good lateral movement, because he doesn't keep you off of him with a jab, and because he doesn't have the kind of game that allows him to plant his feet and stay in the middle of the ring, he's limited. It showed in this fight. Let's talk about Lucian Bute against Denis Grachev. As I watched this fight, I was stunned. Bute looked much worse than I thought he would. I predicted Bute would win this fight. The fight was close, unlike the Marco Huck fight. Had the fight gone against Bute, I don't think Bute's corner could have complained. That fight could have gone either way. Now, there are holes in Bute's game that he needs to fix. Quite frankly, whereas before I thought Bute would beat Froch in the rematch, now that I've seen Bute against Grachev, I'm not so sure. Bute needs to solve some things. Let's talk about the differences between Grachev and Froch. Understand, Grachev is, in my opinion, a mid-range hooker. He's always on his front foot. He's always coming forward. He's always throwing big punches. The punches are predominantly hooks. He hits hard. He's hard to discourage, right? Carl Froch is different. Carl Froch is actually a higher level. Carl Froch has a straight jab. Froch actually has a pretty good jab. Sometimes Froch is on his front foot. Sometimes, and we saw this in the Arthur Abraham fight, sometimes Carl Froch is on his back foot. Right? It's a little bit harder to figure out where Froch is going to be. Grachev, I know he's going to be right in front of me, throwing hooks. Carl Froch, I'm not so sure. Look at the Bute fight. You're going to see Carl Froch doesn't just storm right in. He's actually hanging out outside. He's picking his spots. Let me also say that Bute has a problem dictating distance in the ring. Grachev routinely is backing him up. Bute doesn't have the gift that Juan Manuel Marquez has of just intuitively knowing where he is in the ring. You don't really see Juan Manuel Marquez caught up on the ropes that much. You do with Lucien Bute. Bute spent way too much time on the ropes. The other problem too is, I'm all for a Philly shell. But keep in mind, a Philly shell, you really need to be able to hide your head behind your shoulder. You can't be getting hit flush from time to time like Bute gets hit flush. So I don't know what the contract is between Bute and Froch. My advice to Bute, and I do believe there's no such thing as a tune-up fight. I think every fight's dangerous. But my advice to Bute is right now, Froch's fight style is not a fight style Bute has mastered. Bute could literally take on a bunch of other guys, rebuild his confidence, try to solve dealing with a mid-range hooker. Try to get back to where Bute was when he fought Sakio Bika, who I think is a very hard fighter, right? But Bute's not there right now. He's up on the ropes a bit too much. Guys are in his face a bit too much. The Shane Mosley-Floyd Mayweather fight had a great moment in it, right? Shane Mosley hurts Floyd. Floyd's hurt. Right? At one point, Mosley hits Floyd, his knees buckle. But if you watch Floyd in that fight, and granted, this is A+ boxing, Floyd plants his front foot. He makes sure he stays in the middle of the ring. You don't want, as Antonio Margarito found out, you don't want Shane Mosley opening up on you when you're back up on the ropes hurt. Right? So Mayweather has this thing where he's able to stay in the middle of the ring when he wants to. When you see Mayweather up on the ropes, whether it's against Victor Ortiz, whether it's against Miguel Cotto, whether it's against Ricky Hatton, he's not hurt. He's actually up on the ropes by choice. So when Mayweather is hurt, he tries to keep it in the middle of the ring. Right? Lucien Bute, unfortunately, doesn't seem to have the ability to keep the fight in the middle of the ring, and he isn't the kind of fighter who on his back foot can intuitively stay away from the corner of the ring, right? He's not Ezra Charles. And so Bute needs to figure some things out because Grachev gave him an awfully close fight, and I don't consider Grachev to be on Carl Froch's level. Okay, so that's my post-fight take. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I have to say, if Bute Frach were announced today, and I were to hear that they were going to fight in 3 months, I would back away from my prediction that Bute wins the rematch. I would be on the sidelines for that fight. I do believe Bute has more talent than Carl Froch. But I also believe, for whatever reason, Bute right now is not fighting at his best. Right? He shouldn't be spending that much time up on the ropes. And make no mistake, Grachev hit him with some big punches. Take a look at Bute's face an hour after the fight. You're going to see the redness. Right? He got hit with some shots. Right? I believe he's getting hit with more shots than he used to get hit with in the past. Keep in mind, he fought Libredo Andrade the first time. While he was in trouble in the last round of that fight, going into that last round against a volume puncher, he really hadn't been hit or hurt the whole fight. Now it looks to me like he's more vulnerable to getting hit. Looks to me like he can't keep an aggressive guy on his front foot in the middle of the ring. And Lord only knows what he would have done if Grachev had the jab Carl Froch had, to throw straight punches mixed in with the powerful hooks. Who knows if Bute would have even squeaked out the fight. And make no mistake, this was a squeaker. If Bute doesn't finish the fight strong, he likely would have lost it. It's a close fight. I would encourage you to watch that fight. Let me know what you think. Leave your comments for me here online. To sum up, Gamboa, Floyd, I'd go with Floyd. Ward, Durrell, I'd go with Durrell. I don't think Durrell can fight inside. I think there's a reason why Durrell flopped on the inside against Carl Froch. I believe, by the way, it's the same reason why David Haye flopped on the inside against Vladimir Klitschko. These guys found themselves up close, didn't want to be there, right? Andre Ward has encyclopedic knowledge inside, right? The rematch of Ferhat Arslan against Marco Huck, you can sign me up today for taking the 42-year-old Arslan. I thought Arslan kicked Marco Huck's you-know-what in their first fight. And as for Lucien Bute, maybe. He squeaked out a win against Denis Grachev. I question whether he's ready for a Carl Froch rematch after this fight. I'll be blunt. Even though I predicted the Lucien Bute victory, I was expecting Bute to do a lot better. But I didn't see him able to dictate distance. Most of the rounds in the fight were too close for comfort, and I did not like him up on the ropes. His defense isn't up on the ropes, isn't all encompassing. Like, let's say, Ali's rope-a-dope or Floyd Mayweather up on the ropes. I think Bute, who got caught by Froch up on the ropes, is vulnerable up on the ropes. And you can imagine that's where Froch is going to try to put him. Let me know what you think. Leave your comments for me here online. Visit us at gamblersadvisory.com and DwyerBoxingNews.com. Thanks for stopping by.